No.
All right, we are on A1.5, and we are reviewing and refreshing solving multi-step equations. You are going to show some work, and one of the things, and you don't have to do it this way, but it's a great rhyme, and I think you guys are really going to like it. Are you ready? Cross the line, change the sign. It's catchy, right?
8 minus 6.
So here's the deal. When you look at this, I'm splitting this and putting a line right here. If I'm not coming over this line, I'm not changing any signs, trying to cancel it out. So on the right-hand side, we're just going to clean it up by adding like terms, which we did the other day. And you're right, I would add 8 and 6 to get what? 14, and I keep the n. Now this says solve. So I'm not just simplifying it, I'm going to solve it. So how do I break this up? Well, let me jump into this. If you're cleaning up the sides, you follow the order of operations. But when you go to solve, you're going to go with your order of operations backwards. So I write parentheses, we have exponents, we're going to multiply or divide in order left to right, and then add or subtract in order left to right. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go backwards. You have the answer that this is equal to 0, and we're trying to figure out what the problem is. So what is that n value? It's 14 times n. What breaks up multiplication? What's the inverse of multiplication? Division. So I'm going to say, if I want to break up this 14 and get the n by itself, I'm going to divide by 14, and I'm going to divide this side by 14. And what is 0 divided by 14? 0. So I end up with 0 equals n, and if you don't like it in that order, we can flip-flop it. N equals 0. But I would take 0 equals n. Now, I know, I'm very proud of myself. If I want to check it, I'm going to take it and plug those zeros back in. All right, take a quick second and go ahead and you do number 2, and I will let you do it. All right, so when we go to do this one, I'm going to go ahead and draw my little line. If I don't cross the line, I don't change a sign. Yep, so I'm going to add these two. So you tell me this is a negative 3r?
Yep, equals 18.
Equals 18. And one of our discussions, how do we know? Okay, so how do I know to divide by negative 3?
You want to get r by itself.
I want to get r by itself. So I'm saying, okay, if I need to get r by itself, here's where it's located. It's negative 3 times r. The opposite of multiplication is division. So divide by negative 3 to cancel out the negatives into 3. And you guys are right, r equals negative 6. If I want to check it, I could do what we did the other day by taking that value and plugging it in and testing it. All right, jump down to number 3. Before we can start solving things, we need to do a little work. So the 100 is just going to stay. And on the left side, I'm going to distribute to break up those parentheses. So my equals 8a. What's 8 times 4? 32. And then plus 4. Okay, now, before I start moving things, I like to have everything cleaned up. So nothing to do on the left, but on the right, you have like terms of 32 and 4. So what do we get? 8a plus? 36. Okay, now there's more than one thing with the a. So let me remind you of our order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Now that we've cleaned it up, we start solving by working backwards. So here's a. We get rid of anything on this side with addition or subtraction first. So here's a. I want to get rid of the plus 36. What cancels out a positive 36? A negative 36. So I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides.
Jesus, Murphy.
All right, 100 minus 36. What do we get? 64, and that's equal to 8a. And then I'm going to come back. I've got rid of all addition and subtraction. Now get rid of multiplication division. And since it's 8 times a, I'm going to divide both sides by 8. My goal is to get the a by itself. So I end up with 8 equals 1a, or 8 equals a. And if you want to rewrite it, there you go. All right, can you take a minute and try number 4? All right, so I'm going to draw my line. Do you have to draw this line? No, but I think it helps to separate when you have a lot of things going on. The negative 160 is going to stay. I'm going to distribute that 8. So I end up with 8 times 1, and then a positive times negative is going to be a negative 24n. All right, with that in mind, always focus on that n. Do I get rid of the negative 24 or the 8 first? Get rid of the 8 first by doing what? Yeah, so cross the line, change the sign. If I have a positive 8, I'm going to change it by subtracting 8. So on the left, I get negative 168, and on the right, that cancels, and don't lose that negative sign, negative 24n. Okay, I need to get n by itself, so in order to get rid of this multiplication, I'm going to divide by negative 24 to both sides. Watch your negative signs. These should cancel and leave me just n. And what do I get on the left? I feel like someone told me negative, but shouldn't I get a positive?
Yeah, 7.
Positive what?
7 equals 1.
Positive 7. So if you lost that negative sign, where did you lose it? Okay, so double check that. All right, again, if you were taking a test or a quiz, you could always plug it in the calculator. You would plug in 8 and then parentheses 1 minus 3 times 7. And hopefully, if you did it right, you would get that negative 160, so you would know. All right, down here we have double distribution. I don't want to call it double. You have two things to distribute. So out here, you see that negative sign? What number is out there?
1.
Okay, so we're distributing a negative 1, or some people just say I'm changing the signs. So there's nothing to do on the right-hand side. It's only the left. So this would be negative x plus 1. And then I'm going to distribute a positive 5. So positive 5x plus 30x equals 64. Okay, before I start moving things, I need to clean it up. So I'm going to add like terms. I have a negative 1x. I have a 5x. Oh, anyone want to yell at me for this?
It's 30x.
Well, I screwed up right here. It should have just been 5 times 1 is 5, and then 5 times 6 is 30x. Yeah, do you see where I screwed up? Okay. Now, I have negative x and a positive 30x. What's that? Okay, if I don't cross the line, I don't change the sign. So positive 29x, and 1 and 5 adds up to 6, equals 64. Now what? Yeah, start clearing it out. So we basically ignored the right-hand side and order of operations, cleaned it up, added like terms. Now I'm going to cross the line. I'm going to change the sign. So 29x equals what?
58.
Positive 58. And then what?
Divide both sides by 29.
Okay.
So x equals 2.
X is equal to positive 2. There you go. All right, take a minute and try the next one. All right, cross the line, change the sign. So I'm going to make myself see that I'm just distributing. So this would be a negative 12 and a negative 6n. And this is what a lot of you did right, so I'm not as stressed about it. But that is not just a 2, it's a negative 2. And that's one thing I was looking for. So a negative 2n and then a minus 6. Now, before I start solving, it's much easier to clean it up rather than moving a whole bunch of stuff. Anybody want to? All right, maybe that's all it was. So I'm going to add like terms, negative 6 and negative 2n. This is where people start making mistakes, is they're like, well, add 6n. If I don't cross the line, I don't change the sign. So you lose 6, you lose another 2. It should be negative 8n. And then when I add my constants, negative 12 and negative 6 is negative 18. Now I'm going to start solving by moving things away from n.
Plus 18.
And I'm going to start by getting rid of my subtraction by adding. All right.
Gives you 40.
Positive 40 equals negative 8n. And then
Divide by
negative 8. Yep, divide both sides by negative 8. And there is my n equals negative 5. All right, and really helpful if you guys box or circle your answers. Very, very helpful. All right, on the back. What's different about these, and if you notice, we keep building, right? We keep adding another element. Now we have variables on both sides. And I know this is a review for you guys. And some of us, we're moving, and some of us, we need that little refresher. I'm going to draw my little line here. And then we could solve this. We could actually do this 4 different ways. You need to get all the variables on one side and anything without a variable on the other side. And it doesn't matter which side you move it to. So you have the people, I like to move the variable first. And I don't care where I move it. You have the people that are going to move this 2x over because they want it to be positive. You have people who are going to move this to the left because they want the x on the left. You have other people who are going to move the numbers first. I normally focus on the variables because that's my goal to solve for that. but you can do whatever you want. So what would you like to move first? Since there's nothing I can clean up on either side, I want to start moving things. You want to move the variable? All right. Well, you want to move 4x to the left, 2x to the right? Okay, so you could have done this differently. So to get rid of the 2x, I'm going to subtract it. Agreed with that? This is gone. I'm left with only 15 equals 7. And I like to show my work vertically. Now, some people put it to the side. I like to pair up my like terms. 4x minus 2x is positive 2x. Okay, now, I don't think you need me to tell you this, but I see it a lot. People just drop the negative or the equal sign, and then they move the 15 over, and then they've lost the equation, or their signs, or they just put the equal sign wherever they want. This is why I like the line here. If x is on the right, I want to move everything else to the left. So it doesn't make sense to bring the 15 with it. I want to get the 7 away. So just take a minute and think about what your goal is. You don't want everything on one side. All right, so 15 minus 7, 8 equals 2x, and then what? Both sides by 2. Okay, so that's gone. I get 4 equals x, or x equals 4. Okay, now I'm going to have you guys try the next problem, but I do want you to look at something. There's definitely more stuff over there, right? So my suggestion on number 8 is when you go to do this, draw your little line. The 1 plus n is just going to hang out, but before you start moving things, add like terms. You don't cross the line, you don't change a sign. So add some like terms, and then we'll go over this in a quick second. So I think most of you got to this point. Now, I prefer to clean it up because if I start moving things, I've got a lot of stuff going on. So I prefer to clean it up first. Don't cross the line, don't change a sign. Add my like terms. I get 1n, negative 5 and 6 is positive 1, and that equals 1 plus n. So if I clean it up first, I automatically look at this. Some of you can look at this and say, wait a minute, this is always going to be equal to each other, right? It's always true. You have a mirror here. So if I didn't catch that and I started moving my n to the other side by subtracting n, what happens? I wasn't trying to cancel it. I get 1 equals 1. My n disappeared if I did it that way. If your variable cancels out and you get a true statement, that means it's all real solutions. Or you could say infinite solutions. And you'll see me abbreviating the word solutions, SOL''NS. Now, if you did it differently and you had the 1 plus n equals 1 plus n, and let's say you're a person who moves the numbers first, minus 1, you would have had n equals n, and won't n always equal n? Or if you subtract it, you would get 0 equals 0. Basically, if you get a true statement like that, it's all real solutions. Okay? All right. These are the same idea, number 9. We are distributing and solving. The difference is now we have more stuff. So I'm going to leave that negative 5 minus 2n, and I'm going to distribute a negative. Now watch your signs. So I get a negative 5n, and then a negative times a negative is a positive 20n. So signs, numbers, variables. Okay, same deal. Nothing to do on the left. Negative 5 minus 2n. But on the right, why not add these numbers? So what do I get? No, I'm wrong again, guys. That shouldn't be negative 5n. Shouldn't it just be negative 5?
Yeah, it's negative 5.
Yeah, someone else should probably be taking this job. Okay, just negative 5 minus 4, and so nothing to add. So let's move some stuff here. Let me get rid of this. What do you want to move first? The variable or the number?
I did the number.
The number? I'm a variable kind of person.
I always do the numbers first. I don't know.
All right, which number did you move?
I did 5.
Well, they're both.
Yeah.
Which you moved the 5 over here?
Yeah.
All right, so plus 5 plus 5. So we didn't have to do it that way, but that's how we decided. So negative 2n equals, that ended up canceling 20n. And I feel like this is where a lot of people get stuck.
Is it no solution?
No, it's not no solution because the n didn't cancel out. So how do I move this over? I would add 2n. You here to collect your last one?
Yeah, I gave you $1 yesterday with 1, so I do have stuff 3 more.
Oh, I gotcha. So 0 equals 22n. n still didn't cancel out. So it's 22 times n. How do I get rid of that 22? Divide. And it just happens that I end up with 0 divided by 22, which is what? 0. So the big difference in the other problem, the n's canceled out. In this problem, the number canceled, but my n was left. I just needed to get n to one side. Any questions on that? Okay, so go ahead and give number 10 a try, and then we'll check it out. So here we go. When I go to do this, I'm going to leave the 11 minus 3k alone, and I'm going to distribute the 8 that only goes to these two, and I'm going to do it right. I get just negative 56, and then 8 times k is a positive 8k, and then plus 1. So at this point, before I start moving things, I want to clean up this one side. So I have 11 minus 3k, and that equals positive 8k and a minus 55, right? Negative 56 and 1, negative 55. Okay, now this is my preference. You can do what you want. I normally end up just taking the k and I move it to the left. So that's going to cancel, and I get 11 minus 11k, and that is gone, and I get negative 55. Now, you might have gone a different direction, and that's okay. But if I'm here, the next thing I'm going to do is locate k and get rid of anything else, like that 11. So I got negative 11k equals negative 66, and then how do I get k by itself? Now, if you would have moved it to the other side, you would have had 66 equals 11k, and you would have gotten a positive answer just like me when these cancel out. So I get k equals 6. Okay, last two. Nothing new. The difference is I have to distribute on the left and I have to distribute on the right. So take a quick second at number 11. I know it's not up on the board yet. And think about what you're distributing. And then that's all together. All right, so if you look down here, I want to make sure that negative 5v is not being distributed. It's like a negative 1 there. So the negative 5v stays, and it should be negative v and a negative 5. Are we okay with that? Now, if you wanted to, you could keep moving down and clean this up. I'm going to jump over here and distribute. Negative 6v, negative times negative is a positive 6, and plus 7. All right, again, before I start solving, add like terms. Negative 5v, negative 1v is negative 6v minus 5. On this side, I'm going to add these up. So negative 6v plus 13. Okay, are you with me here? Now, your call, like I said, I normally move the variable first. To me, it's just the habit. So if I'm moving the variable first and I go to add 6v to cancel it from this right side, what ends up happening with my variable? It cancels. Yeah, so I end up with not a v, but 0 there, and I get negative 5 equals 13. Okay, my v disappeared. It canceled itself out. Will negative 5 ever equal 13?
No.
Okay, so this is never going to be true, and that's when I get no solution, in which you could use the null set. That's what that symbol is, null, N-U-L-L set, like no solution, or you could just write out the answer of no solution. I will take either. This is not your answer. Your answer is there are no solutions. Okay, take a minute and go ahead and try number 12. All right, so here we go. I'm thinking about having my line here. I'm going to distribute correctly. Negative 8, negative 2 times 4 is negative 14x equals negative 7x, and just the 8 gets distributed. So negative 8x and a negative 16. Good so far? Nothing to do on the left, so I'm just going to rewrite it. But on the right, I want to add like terms. I don't cross the line. I don't change a sign. So negative 15x minus 16. Okay. Your preference, what you do here, I like to move the variable, so I'm adding the 15. Is that okay? No one's yelling at me, so I'll do it this way. So the negative 8 stays. I get a positive 1x. This is gone. Don't lose that negative sign. I get a negative 16. Then I'm going to add the 8 because I'm trying to get x by itself. So find x and move anything away from it. And there's where we got our x equals negative 8. Okay.